YouTube real estate game. Kendall, your resident real estate appraiser here. Today we're going to do everything ARV. All ARV, nothing but ARV. I'm not going to get too much into comparables today. I want to keep these videos separate. I've already picked the comparables. We'll get into how and why next video. Today, let's just deal with ARV, okay? I picked a house in Tampa that I flipped 4 years ago, and I picked it for two reasons. Number one, I'm familiar with the neighborhood, familiar with the market. Number two, so you can kind of see the evolution of my process, how I've kind of evolved from 4 years ago to today. The pictures at the beginning and end of my videos are some of my most recent projects. So you can see where I'm at. I'm going to take you through my journey on how I get there. Let's go straight to the subject. 1815 East Knollwood. Now there's two things we're going to do on every comparable. We're going to investigate the sale. As an appraiser, I'm obligated to investigate every sale, every transaction of every comparable that I use so I can make sure it's legitimate, make sure it's arm's length, make sure it's not a family transfer or a short sale. You just want to make sure that it's a legitimate market reflection of what we're trying to do, okay? So we'll start out with the subject. The subject is a 1,146 square foot ranch. This is the picture of it up front. The second thing we're going to do is we're going to look at pictures. When I told you that you guys were pulling comps blind, what I meant was you're pulling comparables without studying interior pictures. You cannot come up with ARV. You cannot come up with a value without studying the interior pictures. Any kind of value. You cannot do it. Let's take, for example, as is value. If you can't see the difference between a house that's in average condition and well-maintained versus a house that's riddled with water damage because the roof is beyond repair versus a house that has black mold throughout versus a house that's updated in pretty good condition. Those are all different offers. So if you don't look at the interior pictures, how do you know what to offer? By the same token, ARV, if you don't study the interior pictures of the comparables, you have no idea what that number means to your rehab budget. You don't know if you're rehabbing it at the lowest end of the cost spectrum to the most expensive end of the cost spectrum. You have no idea how to do your budget because you haven't seen the interior pictures. You don't know if you're using contractor grade materials. You don't know if you're using, all luxury materials, expensive imported materials. Without looking at the comparables, you have no idea. So arbitrarily picking a number without looking at pictures is pulling comps blind, period. It's pulling comps blind. And appraisers, we don't do that. Realtors don't do that. I'm making a big deal out of this because it's that important. When you're guessing these numbers, you're putting your deal in jeopardy. And you're putting the deal in jeopardy that you're wholesaling to somebody else if they're trusting you for them to stumble or fumble. We're going to start with the exterior pictures, so as we get to the end, we'll know where to put our house as far as the construction and type of ranch. It's a ranch, but there's different types of ranch construction, and I'll get into that in a minute. So the realtors say it's 1,146 square feet. The sale, really quickly, we jump straight to the county information. It says 1,146 square feet. We're going to vet the sale really quick in 2016. Just really quick, the last sale. You can see transferred from Mr. Kendall Ivy to the Mileses. Arm's length, legitimate transaction. If this was a comparable, we could use it, but that's where we look on every single comp. We're going to double check the square footage, bedrooms, bathrooms, and the sale so that we know that the realtors transferred the information correctly. Sometimes they'll use a porch that maybe permits weren't pulled and the city doesn't recognize it. So I have to catch that. As an appraiser, it's my job to catch those. So that's why we pull county information on every single address that we're looking at. Let's go to the first comparable. This is the subject. This is the interior. Kitchen, step back of the kitchen, step back of the dining room, living room. Now we're gonna go into a little more detail a little bit later. Our first comparable is 1415 East Hannah Avenue. The realtors say it's 1,098 square feet. The county says 1,098 square feet. They added a bathroom, so this says 3-1, but it is a 3-2. The most recent sale, you can see that it is market-driven, legitimate transactions, not a family transfer, not a bank sale, so we can use it. Now, let's go straight to some pictures. On ARV, this is what we're looking for. Let's clear something up really quickly. I've heard ARV referred to as after repair value, in excellent condition, fixed up. But as an appraiser and as an investor, ARV means to me after rehab value, after renovation value. By definition, as an appraiser, after repair value is significant of a subject to appraisal, meaning an appraisal subject to a particular set of repairs, not a renovation. So it could be just fixing the roof, fixing a water leak in the basement, and replacing the kitchen countertop. That would be the definition of a after repair or a subject to appraisal. Subject to appraisals, they don't happen often. From now on, in the context of how I'm talking to you, ARV means after renovation, after rehab value. Because what we're doing is we're flipping these houses to people who are fixing them up and selling them for the most part. Wholesalers are flipping these houses to flippers, and investors are buying these houses to put the money into them to get the maximum return on their investment. We're eager to get these things fixed up to the top of the market so that we can get top of the market prices. So, ARV, after rehab renovation value. What we're looking for in this particular instance, this is a beautifully renovated bungalow. The realtor says this is a beautifully renovated bungalow for $230,000. Now, what we're looking for is quality of construction, quality of materials, quality of workmanship. That's what we're looking for in these pictures. We can tell everything we need to glean from these pictures. I can tell you right now, it's kind of a rustic finish, but the quality of materials, really thin molding, really thin crown molding, nothing special, cheap wood. Flooring is, average run-in-the-mill, contractor grade materials. And when I say contractor grade materials, I'm referring to the kind of materials contractors walk into Lowe's, Menards, Home Depot, grab stuff off the shelf. They may spend a little more, may spend a little less, they may find some things on sale, but that's basically where they get the contractor grade materials, and they're going to do contractor grade workmanship to boot. You can see the kitchen cabinets, the kitchen countertops. A lot of times on the cheaper rehabs, the countertops will be laminate countertops. As you get into more expensive ones, you get the granite and the Formica, but let's just take a look. As you can see, the appliances, the cabinets, the fixtures, they're all average to above average contractor grade material. We're going to look at the kitchens, and we're going to take a look at the bathrooms. The bathrooms in the average, the lower end, the doors are usually the 6-panel hollow core doors, the really cheap ones you can hear whispering behind. The toilets, the cabinets, the countertops in the bathroom, they're all contractor grade, right off the shelf materials. Okay? So that's the first comparable. Let's go to the second one. Next one up is 278. Okay? Another complete renovation, a little bit higher quality of construction and materials. Realtor says it's 1,014 square feet, 3-bedroom, 2-bath. The county says it is 1,014 square foot, 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom. okay? The sale, let's look at the sale real quick. Make sure it's a legitimate sale. Sold in 2021. Two-party sale, arm's length, not a family transfer. We're good there. Again, remember, I have to look at every sale as an appraiser. Let's take a look at the pictures. You're going to find the pictures. You're going to find the quality of construction and materials a little bit better. Baseboard trim, the trim around the doors is going to be a little bit thicker. Probably not more expensive wood, but just a little bit thicker. Instead of 1.5, maybe 2.5 inches, maybe 3. But still, everything, the windows, the lowest R value. The interior doors are going to be the 6-panel hollow core doors. Countertops, kitchen cabinets. You can buy all this stuff at Home Depot, at Menards. This one is sold for $313, and we're going to go to the highest one, and so we can kind of keep moving. You'll get the picture, okay? This is a 1,200 square foot, 3-bedroom, 2-bath. County says it is. Now, on this one, the county says it's 967 square feet. Now, in the next video, what we're going to do is we're going to see whether it's the open porch that was enclosed and finished, whether 967 square feet reflected a garage before they converted the garage to a room. We're going to check that out in the next video. So just goes to show you another reason why we have to double check the county information. But either way, this is a comparable that we can use because it fits the square footage criteria. Still at 967. It's a little bit of a stretch, but it's a complete renovation, and it is a 3-2. We just looked at the county information. Let's take a look at the pictures. I can tell you right out the rip, the windows are a little more expensive, a little bit higher R value, probably double pane. The finish work is a little bit more intricate. You can see the ceilings. There's a little bit more effort in craftsmanship in the finish work. They've upgraded the quality of materials in the floors and the walls. The kitchens are above contractor grade. There's a crown on top of the kitchen cabinets. The fixtures and the appliances are a couple of steps up. The countertops are, quartz granite, custom cut, custom measured, custom fit. And as you can see, the fixtures are not contractor grade. You're probably going to a bath, a fixture shop, specialty shop to get some better quality materials for this house. Even the handles on the cabinets in the upper echelon rehabs are more expensive, bigger, sturdier, okay? Take a look at the bathroom now. The bathrooms in the higher end, none of them are luxury bathrooms. But the countertops are custom cut, granite quartz. Cabinets are higher end. Even the toilets are 2 or 3 steps above contractor grade. So in the more expensive bathrooms, they don't necessarily have to go luxury, but they definitely go a few steps up. You can tell by the pictures here. Let's take a look at the next count. Okay, this one sold for $325. It's a 1,284 square foot ranch. Let's see what the county says. County says 1,284 square foot, 3-bedroom, 2-bath. Says so right here. Most recent sale. Vet it real quick. Party number 1, party number 2, 2 different last names. Not a bank transfer, not a family transfer. It's a decent sale, market driven. Let's take a look at the pictures. You're going to see the windows are upgraded. The wood trim is thicker. The baseboard, the base in the shoe trim is thicker and more expensive wood. Quality of the floors is an upgrade. The kitchen, cabinets, countertops, everything is a step up. Finish work around the doorways. It's more intricate, a couple steps up. It becomes painfully obvious the difference in the quality of construction and materials as we get into the higher value ranges, okay? Now, I'm gonna jump straight to the most expensive house. This one sold for $350. Okay, it is 1,134 square foot within zero adjustment square footage of our subject. I don't know if our subject is going to be closest to this one, but even though this sold for $350, we're right in there. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. Let's take a look at what the county says. 1134. County says 1134. It is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. We're good there. The sale, we're good there. 2 parties. Okay, let's take a look at the pictures on the most expensive sale here. It's going to be very obvious the upgrade in the wood trim around the hallway entrances, the doors, the crown molding. It's more intricate wood. The base in the shoe is, double the size of the cheap ones. Probably a much more expensive wood. I mean, you can have $3,000 to $7,000 difference in cost just in the upgrades of wood trim in the interior, or more depending on the cost of materials. But you can see, look at the hallway entrances, how much wood and the quality and intricacy of the finish work. It's a big difference in the cheapest house. Look at the kitchen. The sink alone is a $600, $700, maybe $800 country sink. It's one of these newer, deep, really heavy, requires a special kind of a mount. You can't just drop it in. I don't even have to go into detail about how much better of materials and construction they used in this kitchen versus the first 2 houses. Let's take a look at all the kitchens side by side. We're doing this for a reason. We don't have any blinders on, and we're going to know exactly where we want to configure our deal. We have a bunch of slots that are all reasonable and valid, that when we put our house next to the most similar house, our ARV speaks for itself. The data, the information tells us where we can put our house, which house it's most similar to, and then that quality of construction and materials is how we start figuring our rehab budget. That's how appraisers do ARV. That's how seasoned investors do ARV. That's how we're going to do ARV from now on. So now, let's line up all the pictures and take a look from the cheapest to the most expensive on every one of these comparables that's usable as a potential ARV comparable. Then we're going to go over some numbers. Okay, let's start with the least expensive kitchen. We're going to look at the very basic tile, cabinets, even the door handles and the drawer handles, and we're going to just compare each kitchen going all the way up. Now this kitchen, it's the second least expensive kitchen. The cabinets are very basic, the door handles are basic, the appliances are basic, and the fixtures are basic. But what they did was they used a good color scheme as far as the tile around the exterior of the cabinets, on the other side of the kitchen, the splash area above the countertops. They did a really good job in choosing colors and style that makes this look a little bit more expensive than it actually is. I like that. But you can look in the background, you see the really cheap 6-panel hollow core doors. Next kitchen, we're going up in quality of construction and materials. Granite, Formica, the flooring, we're spending a little bit more on fixtures. You can see appliances up again, the second to most expensive one. Look at the appliances. Kitchen cabinets, look at the handles. They're 2.5 times bigger than the other ones. They're probably 3 times as heavy. And then the most expensive kitchen speaks for itself. So you have the least expensive kitchen and the most expensive kitchen. All of these are comparables that we can consider for our ARV. This is what happens when you look at the pictures. We're able to forensically make a decision that is solid when it comes to where our house fits into these slots. What is our ARV? When we look at the subject And let's just look at the exterior, okay? Let's look at the quality of construction and the style of construction of this ranch. We compared all the kitchens. Now let's figure out a slot. Let's figure out which house our subject is most comparable to. This is the subject exterior, and just the very first two houses, I'm gonna say it's more similar to the second house. Now, the second house they've gone a little fancier in the finish work on the exterior. So it's going to be between the first and the second house, which in a basic construction and style, which one our house is closest to. Now, you could make an argument that this basic shotgun front to back kind of long, thin quality of construction, the most expensive house is, but that's not really our house. It has a front porch, brick, surround. I'm gonna go with somewhere between the first and the second house, somewhere between $278 and $230. What that's gonna depend on is the amenities, porches, pools, bathrooms, half baths. We're gonna see which one it lines up best with in the comparable video. But now, you see, we spent a lot of time on ARV. We didn't even deal with the comparables yet. And so the ARV, it's a lot more intricate than just grabbing a number or looking at the exteriors. As an appraiser, this is how I do ARV. When I'm working with a realtor, this is how we do ARV. I'm not disparaging anybody's process on the internet, in the YouTube real estate verse. Nobody. If it's working for you, keep doing it. But like I said in my introduction video, it is my contention that if you spend a little bit more time doing it in a way that got you closer to the appraiser's number, you would make a little more money than you're making, you would lose a little less money than you're losing, and typically your number is going to be closer to the appraised number most of the time. And the appraised number determines how all those numbers on the final HUD fall. So that appraised number is most important because that's what determines how much money you're going to make. Okay? So we're trying to get this number as close as we can in the beginning. Again, we haven't dealt with comparables, but we are going to clear up a few myths right now. Now let's plug up a few holes here. Let's look at the sales prices. We have 7 sales from $230 to $350. The average of those sales is $309,000. So if we just ran in here and averaged, even if we picked all these good sales and we average some numbers, after all of our painstaking work of qualifying, quantifying, comparing through pictures, amenities, bedrooms, baths, half baths, pools, yard size, after we did all of that work and came up with our comparables and numbers, if we take 309 as an average, what if our house is closest to the 230? We've already determined that our house is closest to the 230, 278, the two lowest sales. Okay, we've already determined that. But if we run in there and do some averaging and we come up with an average of 309, how far off are we? Averaging wipes out all of our market-derived information. It wipes out all of our math, any kind of adjustments we've made. Averaging wipes out everything. Those numbers, the average number tells you nothing. It doesn't tell you if you're dealing with a house that's more like the 230 or more like the 350. So when I said in my introductory video, we don't use averages to determine or support value, appraisers don't do it. So I don't recommend doing it. If you're doing it, don't do that. If you're doing it and it works for you, fine. But again, I think you're dealing in markets that you're very familiar with, and you can kind of fly kind of loose with how you come up with your numbers, because intuitively you know your bottom lines, you know the top line. You've worked in those neighborhoods before. It's different for you. Those people who are extremely familiar with your market. But for everybody else, averaging tells you nothing. Let's look at cost per square foot. We have cost per square foot from 209 to 308. Now let me explain what cost per square foot is. once you do all of your qualifying, all of your quantifying, all of your adjustments, all of your math, the market speaks and you have a sold sale, only then does price per square foot populate. So if we take a cost per square foot, just pick a number. It doesn't tell you anything about the house. It doesn't tell you anything about the quality of construction and materials by itself. Cost per square foot tells you nothing market related. So if you're grabbing cost per square foot and averaging cost per square foot, don't do it. If you want to do it like an appraiser, don't do that. I have a question for you. How is it that a house that sold for $325,000 has a cost per square foot of $253, but a house that sold for $278,000 has a cost per square foot of $274? On paper, it doesn't make sense. So if I were to ask you, okay, the cost per square foot you used, why did you use that? I have to justify every number I use. I have to go to the market and explain why I used it. If I don't, my entire appraisal is invalid. That's the appraisal law. If I don't do things right, I end up in appraiser jail. You guys think I'm kidding? But appraiser jail is real. Two houses both sold for $335,000. But one has a cost per square foot of $271 and another for $289. Explain that. You can't. You can't use cost per square foot arbitrarily. Now, if I take 3 or 4 houses, I saw the pictures, I did the qualifying, I did the math. In my sample, I can tell you the difference between 2 or 3 costs per square foot within a particular context. But just basic numbers, cost per square foot, what does it tell you? It tells you nothing out of context. So we don't use cost per square foot to jump and try to figure out ARV. We don't average cost per square foot to try to jump and figure out ARV. We just don't do it. Appraisers don't do it. So these are some of the things that were so concerning to me. It's why I'm here, to stop you guys who are trying to figure out some solid processes from starting out with bad habits in markets that you're not familiar with, because you're grossly misconstruing the numbers, just catastrophically misconstruing them. So I hope I, in a very clear and concise and logical way, explained why we don't average, so don't do that, and why we don't use cost per square foot. Don't do that. We use pictures, we use the practical, logical, available information. Bedroom, bathroom, square footage, quality of construction, style. That's what appraisers use to qualify comps. Okay, so you got to get used to doing that. Is this a fast process? No. But as you can see, you can start to fly through. Once you get set up, you can fly through the county information, double checking the realtor information. It's not that difficult. And again, if you don't have time to vet this properly, pass on the deal. It doesn't make sense for you to computate your ARV at the top 3 cost per square foot, and your house is at the bottom 2, 209, and you're somewhere around 300. And you base all your numbers on that. And then what happens? You break a wall, you're $20,000 more in than you thought. Your numbers are already off. And then the contingencies that you planned for happen. Now your numbers are farther off. Listen, it really can only take one deal for you to be one and done. I mean, it happens every day. 90% of the people that take the real estate courses either don't follow through or fail for a myriad of these reasons and others. I said in my first video, there's so many stories of people who get to that final HUD and they thought they were making X amount of dollars and they're only making this, $5,000, $6,000. Well, it's some money. They're not out of the game, but you can't do that every time and survive. That's not sustainable. And luck only gets you so far. So, next video, we're going to figure out why we use the comps we use. We're going to throw some curveballs in there and show you how, just basically with this list, with another couple of curveballs, everything is going to be what you might think are drastically different amenities from our subject. We're still in the range where we can dial in very specifically our ARV. Very important. The averaging cost per square foot, the pictures, all of this is vital to the process. Absolutely mandatory to understand. So hopefully I've said things in a clear and concise manner. I tried to go over the pictures without boring you, but study the pictures. The pictures are going to show you what your rehab budget is going to be. They're going to give you the outline for your numbers, okay? And the pictures tell you everything. So there's my ARV as an appraiser video. This is pure ARV. We haven't talked about comparables. I want to keep things separate, like I said before. Let's go straight to the comparable video from here.